Okay, so Fastlane, the last pay-per-view before WrestleMania, and it, in my opinion, is generally. I mean, I didn't think there was a whole lot to look forward to, or to wonder about, or to really be entertaining, other than the in ring, the potential for good in ring product in some of the matches. Because wrestling, it's not just about like who wins and who loses, or if a belt exchanges hands or not. It's not just about that. It's about watching something cool in the ring when it comes to the in ring work, and it's about the, like, like any story, like the emotional movement. So during the pre-show, we got our first. I think this was probably the first big swerve of the night. We got a little bit of a swerve where Kofi Kingston gets called away from being ringside for the New Day against Nakamusa during the pre-show, and is told that he needs to speak to the McMahons in their office to talk about the WWE Championship match. So we're, of course, all assuming that this is the point in time where Kofi gets inserted into the match after all. That said, the first match on the main show proper was Shane and Miz versus the Usos, and it was an entertaining match with some emotional spots, and the Miz had a pin opportunity, but the ref was busy attending to Shane, and I thought that was possibly setting up that the heel turn was going to be like, so he had a pinning opportunity where he probably would have gotten the pin the way they set it up. If he probably would have gotten the pin if the referee had been there to count it. But instead, the referee was making sure that Shane was okay. And I thought that this was setting up, this was going to be like a major reason in Miz's mind that they lost, and this was going to set up a heel turn for the Miz on Shane, which I thought was, like I said, I thought that's what was coming, and I didn't think that would be a very good idea, because they've been working so hard to make the Miz a face, and at this point, if they go and they make him heel again, it's going to be a couple of years probably before they can really go about like making him a face again. So, that's. I'm glad that they didn't. Well, Shane at one point in time in the match was looking to go coast to coast, but one of the Usos, I can't remember which one. You guys know I have trouble with twins. They one of the Usos climbed up on the opposite rope. So you have Shane over here and you have an Uso over here, and they collided in the middle of the ring. And to take advantage of that, I believe the Uso that was up on the turnbuckle that had the spot with Shane, he was the legal man in the match, and Miz saw this, of course, as an opportunity to take advantage and try to get a pin. So he went with a frog splash, a little bit outside of his normal arsenal, and the Uso in question got his knees up and totally ruined that opportunity for the Miz, and rolled him up, and that was the end of the match. And it looked at first like, where's the heel turn? Like I kind of figured maybe it would, like, you'd see a sign of it at Fastlane, and then it would happen in earnest on SmackDown. But there wasn't even any sign of it at first. Shane and Miz were hugging, and Miz was, rubbing Shane's head like in a fatherly sort of way. Or maybe I might have said it in the reverse order there, but it was Shane rubbing the Miz's head in a fatherly sort of way, and it seemed like everything was fine. They get over by George, Miz's dad, and Shane just mercilessly attacks the Miz. Turns heel right there, just attacks him. And then on top of it, he attacks George. I mean, when he attacked George, like, my jaw was open, right? So I don't know, man. That was. I mean, I guess I kind of figured that George, because it was in Cleveland, the Miz's hometown, And I kind of figured George would be involved in the match somehow. I kind of figured maybe he'd do some shenanigans and they would end up losing the match on DQ because of those shenanigans. Like he would try to do something in a situation where he thought the ref wasn't going to catch him, and then he would get caught. And as a result, kind of lose them the match, and then maybe that would set up a heel turn for Shane. But the way he was involved was just to get attacked by Shane. So it was entertaining. It was shocking. It was, I can't complain about it. I give this match 2 stars out of 5. 2.5 stars out of 5. And that is, for me, probably above average. And not to seem like hard, I'm bad with the ratings, I think. But I want to give you an idea of like how I liked it, how much I liked it. Anyway, and with everything that Vince has been doing on TV, on Raw and SmackDown, playing Puppet Master and stuff, and then Shane going ahead and turning heel, I mean, we have evil corporate again. And I don't know if that's because they don't think anybody in the company is compelling enough as a heel to really, carry what they need in terms of storyline and get people to watch. Like, I don't know if that's what that is. It's just like a vote of no confidence in some of the talent. I'm not sure, but either way, it is a callback to the Attitude Era in a way, and that was what people say now, at least, was the whole reason for the McMahons becoming the bad guys. In terms of like the fans, it's hard to look back at the Attitude Era and really know who the good guys were. Like, they were all kind of bad guys, but corporate was definitely who we were supposed to like. They were supposed to be the heels. And, that harkens back to this, but people, when they talk about that era now, will highlight the fact that the whole reason that was done in the first place is because ratings were floundering. There weren't any good heels for which to work storylines, and you'd have all these face versus face or tweener versus tweener or who cares versus who cares matches, and it wasn't compelling from storyline standpoint. So the McMahons got involved, and they had to do that because the talent wasn't good enough. I don't know if that's necessarily the case now or not, but that was the case the last time that they really pulled this stuff in a super, or the time that we think about when it comes to this stuff anyway. So then you get Mandy versus Asuka, and I'm wondering if they're presenting Sonya and Mandy as a couple at this point. It kind of looked like they were, which is cheesy and unnecessary. But anyway, I mean, that's what happened. They hired back Bruce Pritchard and I think a couple other people to creative who were associated with the Attitude Era heavily. And I think they're going to try their best to stay PG, but I think you're going to get as much of that kind of thing as they think they can get away with. I really feel like they've already kind of started sowing the seeds of that, and I don't feel like it's going anywhere. And there's like highlighted spots within the match. There's this point where Asuka has Mandy in the octopus, and Sonya Deville's like rooting around underneath the ring, and she's looking for something. And Mandy kind of works her way out of the hold. But then later, 2 minutes later, 3 minutes later, something like that, Sonya was rooting around under the ring again and had the ring apron up on the ring so that she could kind of look underneath it, and kind of when she left the ring, she left the apron kind of strung up on the ring there, and Mandy took a kick and kind of tripped on it at the same time, and either way, it led to her downfall. And Mandy and Sonya maybe seem to be having kind of a Sasha and Bailey style like tag team tiff or whatever in the ring. Um, Not a fan of this match. Asuka deserves better. Not only because, or just I don't entirely mean that as a like a dig on Mandy Rose as a wrestler. She's not the worst, but her character is the worst. And even this could have been better if there was really any care or attention given to it being a storyline leading up to this. I for one don't have a problem with matches that have no storyline leading up to them. If it's two people I like to see in the ring that'll both also have compelling personalities, I mean, like, that's good enough in a lot of cases. I like storyline too, but Asuka is great, and there's a lot of people in the company that she could probably work a match with no lead up, and I would be pretty pumped about it. Mandy Rose isn't one of them. So the McMahon segment, we go back to the locker room. The New Day are back there with Kofi, and they're like, "Man, why are you still waiting? The McMahons haven't talked to you yet?" Because Kofi's just waiting outside of an arena door that says Mr. or McMahon family on it or something. And they're like, "We got to go in there and talk to him." So Kofi kind of follows Big E and Xavier into the office where Mr. McMahon says, "Well, I'm waiting for an hour." And they're like, "No, you made him wait for an hour." It kind of seemed like maybe they botched some of the dialogue and Mr. McMahon didn't know, it all got salvaged in the end. But it kind of seemed like maybe there was like a miss in there somewhere. So it kind of, it's reminiscent of what they were doing in pay-per-views during like the ruthless aggression era and the attitude era, like 10, 12 years ago and more, where there was a lot of story segment within the pay-per-views. That's been unusual. That was unusual for what we've been seeing. Pay-per-views are mostly matches with little vignettes about the match we're about to see in between, and you can set your watch by that for the most part. That wasn't what we got today or yesterday at this point. I kind of like that, to be honest with you. Whenever I go on the network and I watch an older pay-per-view, I always end up kind of being like, man, I wish there was a little bit more of this today when it comes to that kind of stuff. And the pre-show this time functioned a little bit more like the old Sunday Night Heat shows, where we would get kind of like the last little bit of the story leading into the pay-per-view. This pre-show had a lot more interviews with, and then little vignettes with like wrestlers, and some of them involved in the show later, some of them not, but they're all furthering something. So they used the pre-show to do something. And so that was kind of like what they used to do too. Same thing with this segment, story within the pay-per-view, pushing the story further still outside of just the matches. And I gotta be honest, I think those little vignettes in between the matches to show you like what's going on leading into what's been going on leading into it are probably handy for people who don't watch and maybe have their place, and they should still do that a little bit. But for me, I'd much rather see stuff like this McMahon segment. Either way, Mr. McMahon says that the WWE Championship is now going to be a triple threat. That's what he tells Kofi. And he tells him, you better get out there now because your match is starting. And then he has like a grin on his face a little bit. So I think that we're about to see Kofi, Daniel, and Kevin for the WWE Championship. And I think that because that's what the announcers say. That's what the ring announcer says. And after Kofi makes his way to the ring announcer like gets like a phone call or something. There wasn't a phone call, but you know what I mean. He gets a memo, he gets a call, he gets pulled to the side, and somebody whispers something in his ear. I can't remember exactly how it went. But the moral of the story being that he now says, oh, wait, there's been a change. The WWE Championship match will be later in the show. This match is going to be a handicap match between the Bar and Kofi Kingston. And it's a tornado-style handicap match, so there's no tagging involved here. It's just the Bar beating on Kofi just mercilessly. And at different points in time during this segment, the crowd is chanting, and it's not the whole crowd, but it's enough to where you can hear it when you go watch maybe if you didn't watch it live and you're watching it, the next day or something, maybe they edited that out, who knows, but the crowd was very audibly chanting, "This is boring." And they were right. It was kind of boring. I think it served the story okay, but it was certainly just a little bit boring. My cat is trying to get into the room. Okay, took care of the cat situation. Basically, again, corporate is evil again. That's what's happening here. And, how bad can that be? We need something a little bit different, and they're giving it to us. This pay-per-view felt odd through the whole thing. It felt weird. It felt different. It certainly felt odd and different for what I was expecting from a Fastlane pay-per-view. Going into WrestleMania, not wanting to shake things up, and I was just expecting a same old. You could throw chalk up on the board and you'd have it right. Kind of show. And Kofi getting beat down by the Bar in a handicap match is not that. So the rest of the New Day try to come out and help too, actually, but they're attacked by Nakamura and Rusev, and they get revenge for their loss in the pre-show. So we have more kind of plot coming full circle, and I'm a fan of that. Okay, so the next match is the Raw Tag Team Triple Threat, which was probably the match I was most looking forward to in the evening because it was the one that I thought if there was gonna be a title change hands, this is the one. And the match is filled with awesome spots, but also some sloppy spots. I think that Aleister Black and Ricochet are having a little bit of trouble with each other's timing. And I don't mean that in any sort of like to criticize. That's not what I mean. I just mean from a visual perspective, they look just a little bit out of sync. Certain moves that I think are supposed to be kind of timed together are a little bit off. So far, it doesn't look like anybody's about to get hurt or anything like that, right? It just looks a little awkward at times. And that said, when you get those two in the ring, it's also going to look incredible, more than it's going to look awkward. And they're facing four other excellent dudes in the ring. Chad Gable is no slouch. Bobby Roode is a great wrestler. I think Chad Gable. Bobby Roode is no slouch. Chad Gable is a great wrestler. And the Revival are a good classic tag team. And as much as they say no flips, just fists, and I guess they don't really do flips, they do climb that damn turnbuckle a whole lot more than a team with a tagline like no flips, just fists ought to. Let's be honest. A little bit hypocritical there with your Revival, but either way, this awesome spectacle of a match. The Revival retain the most entertaining part of the match. To talk about like a big segment within the match is probably actually the post match. There's a scrum after the match is over. Everybody keeps fighting, and in the end of it, it's Aleister Black and Ricochet who are just handled everybody. And look what they're playing Aleister Black's music at the end of this match, and not the Revival's. So that ought to tell you right there who actually. We had a victor. The tag titles were retained. But there was a clear winner at the end of all of this, and it really appears as though that was Aleister Black and Ricochet. the United States Championship. So we were supposed to have a match between Rey Mysterio and Andrade on the pre-show, and I was like, what the hell is that doing on the pre-show? These guys are some of the best stuff going in the whole company right now is Andrade and Rey Mysterio, right? So that was a little bit, what are they thinking? Well, Swerve, that got moved to the main card and turned into a fatal four-way for the United States Championship. The match was a spot fest, okay? Everybody got in on the action, too. R-Truth hit a couple cool scissor kicks. Samoa Joe even went with like a suicide dive crossbody on everybody outside of the ring. I mean, everybody. He hit everyone. That big mother just jumped right through the ropes. Just took out everybody. Lots of modified, like Hurricane Rana type spots for Rey Mysterio with Andrade in precarious situations, like draped over the ropes, up on the turnbuckle, out on the apron. Like they were. I mean, I'm not always the hugest fan of the lucha style. I think it's fun to watch. But then I think it can be a little bit like flip, no sell, Hurricane Rana, no sell, and then flip again, and then stand and look at each other and let everybody cheer. You know what I mean? Like, and it's amazing to see. It's incredible, but a little bit when those parts of those matches look a little bit like they're from Step Up to the Streets. And more than a wrestling match. And that said, it's freaking incredible. And so, and I think that's ultimately what I like about Andrade so much, is he's capable of a lot of those things and can have really cool lucha style spots and matches, but can really just wrestle. He can really wrestle. Whereas I think some of those guys probably can really wrestle, but maybe it's just not part of their style, you know? And I say that, and somebody's going to think that I don't like lucha style wrestling. I do like it. I just don't maybe like it as much as some other styles of wrestling. And I don't think I like any individual style of wrestling as much as I like when they all kind of get thrown mixed up together, and then you really get something that I think is special. Anyway, enough about that. Funny spot in the match, R-Truth hit a 5-knuckle shuffle, and to honor his childhood hero, John Cena. Samoa Joe and Rey Mysterio, and he hit it on Samoa Joe, by the way. Rey Mysterio hit a nasty 619 on Samoa Joe, but Samoa Joe ended up retaining by getting him into the Coquina Clutch. Coquina Clutch. Never say that right. That was a good match. It was a really good match. I like it. I liked it a lot. I was really happy that it got put. I would have rather, you know, as much as this was a really good match, a part of me still wishes that I just got to see Andrade and Rey Mysterio again. They did a bunch of one-on-one matches, and now every match that they've been involved in has been with each other, but they've been multi-man matches. And, I mean, this is basically just a rematch of a match we saw on SmackDown like 2 days ago, right? So, like, I like the match, or 2 days ago, but like a week ago. You get what I mean? 5 days before this pay-per-view or something. I don't know. It was good. It was certainly not a bad match. And I'm glad it was on the main show, but I still would have rather just seen Andrade and Rey Mysterio. Nia Jax, she came out for her match, which was a tag team championship match, her and Tamina versus Sasha and Bayley. She came out in a tuxedo shirt, basically. She came out in a shirt printed with something one of the other lady wrestlers would normally wear. And Sergeant Pepper's shoulder pads that she stole. And Ringo Starr is a nice man, okay? And he's old. He's nice and he's old and he's frail and probably couldn't stand up to me, let alone Nia Jax. It's not fair for her to be doing that, taking that stuff from that man. You're bad, Nia. Anyway, Bayley is a badass with a terrible gimmick. She gets a pin, and mid-announcement of their retention, Sasha and Bayley brutally attacked by Nia and Tamina. And then Beth Phoenix comes out to confront Tamina. She comes out to confront Tamina, and they're just staring at each other face to face. And then they start getting into it, and because Beth attacks Tamina, and then Nia and Tamina just both end up stomping Beth, into oblivion. And then Natalya comes out to try to save the day, like that's gonna friggin' work. And she's subdued by Nia and Tamina pretty quickly. And so here comes the triple threat match. This is the next match. It's a triple threat match for the WWE Championship. And Swerve. It does not include Kofi Kingston. That's what I thought we were going to get, is I thought we were going to get Kofi coming out for this match, and he's all beat up from the handicap match and puts on a heroic and noble showing, but ultimately loses because he's in no condition to be fighting anymore, right? That's kind of what I figured would happen. And then we get either a rematch of this triple threat or Kofi versus Daniel one-on-one somehow at WrestleMania, right? That's kind of what I smelled coming. And that's not what they gave to me. What they gave to me was a triple threat for the WWE Championship involving Kevin Owens, Daniel Bryan, expected, and Mustafa Ali. And anybody who says that Vince McMahon does not know how to book long-term needs to look at this example with Mustafa Ali and how he has been booked long-term. And sometimes I think we use Vince McMahon as like the straw man for creative, and we say all these things about Vince McMahon, and it might really be like a group decision, but I think Vince McMahon wants us to see him in that way. So, I'm going to continue to call it like that when I think that that's what's going on. And so this may not have been Vince's idea, but people keep bagging on him, me included sometimes. So I'm going to give him some credit here and say that this was genius, maybe not genius, but this was really great long-term booking for Mustafa and his whole rise and situation. And part of me feels like the only reason he's getting the push that he's getting is because of WWE's newish relationship with Saudi Arabia. And if so, that's a shame, but also whatever, because it's getting us a great wrestler on TV pretty much every Tuesday, and now in these cool matches and pay-per-views. It really is. It's a cool spot in the pay-per-view here, where he's a major part of the match. He's not just a throwaway thing. Like this was actually really well done. But the crowd was just chanting Kofi the whole time, and I kind of feel bad for Mustafa in this sense because, the dude gets himself into his most high-profile, his biggest match of his career, probably, right? This is probably his most high-profile spot that he's been involved in, and the crowd's chanting for another dude because all the tension and all the heat that Mustafa was supposed to build by, it seems, going into Elimination Chamber and really pushing Daniel Bryan, we all feel that way about Kofi now. So not really anything you can do about that. Really nasty spot where Mustafa Ali has himself drop kicked off the top turnbuckle by Daniel Bryan, and on the way down he hits the barricade, and not in the nice way where their feet hit the ground first and then they kind of collapse into the barricade. That's not how it went down. He just went straight into the barricade pretty much with his rib area, and it didn't look good, man. I'll tell you what. So it looked real good. I mean, like it looked great, but it looked like it hurt. So, several minutes later, though, he makes his triumphant return by interrupting and I mean several minutes, at least 3 minutes. He makes his triumphant return by interrupting a pin, and that had immediately followed some yes kicks. Daniel Bryan had Kevin Owens in the yes kicks and went to go get a pin, and Mustafa broke it up. But his reward for doing so was some yes kicks of his own. And somewhere, I think it was about the midpoint. In my notes, I wrote could be the midpoint. We could be 2 seconds from the end, but by what I would guess is like a decent way in, but not near the end, my impression was that everybody in the match had an impact, had a real impact on the match, had some really cool spots. Everybody in this match was smelling like a rose. So, and I like that. And it's because of the three guys that were working the match, Kevin Owens, Daniel Bryan, and Mustafa Ali. They can work a match. And Mustafa Ali hit a Spanish fly from the top turnbuckle, and he can't capitalize on Daniel Bryan after doing that because Daniel rolled out of the ring. So he moves over to the other turnbuckle to do the 054 on Kevin Owens. And Kevin Owens rolled out of the way. So, and then he hit Mustafa Ali with the stunner. And Daniel Bryan finally comes back into the ring. And kind of breaks up Kevin Owens' attempt to, capitalize on the stunner. Minutes later, Mustafa Ali hits the old, what did he hit? I think it was another 054 on Daniel Bryan on the ring's apron. And he goes for the pin, but Daniel Bryan's pulled out of the ring by Eric Rowan, that conniving jerk. And we get Kevin Owens and Eric Rowan. They kind of do like a spot together. And we get Mustafa Ali and Kevin Owens. They work together to get Eric Rowan out of the match. And at this point, I'm wondering why they can't all be this good. Like, this has actually been a really good pay-per-view. Anyway, minutes later, Kevin Owens powerbombs Mustafa Ali right into the ring apron. And as he tried to pull him into a pin to take advantage, Eric Rowan again reappeared, and he had a little spot with Kevin again. In the aftermath, Kevin Owens was near incapacitated near the timekeeper's area. The crowd starts another Kofi chant. Bryan hits a nasty flying knee on Mustafa Ali in the middle of the air. One of the coolest spots. I don't know if you could even ever get it to do it in a video game. Going to be stuck watching that one and clips on YouTube and on the network or whatever, because you're never going to see that one again. And he gets the pin. Charlotte and Becky have their match. Charlotte comes out red and black, and it's a way cooler look than her Carolina blue thing. I really kind of like her heel stuff. She starts going after Becky's knee nice and early. And I actually said to my wife about 2 minutes, and I was kind of live talking on Facebook about all of this. And I said to my wife, I was like, if Becky, all injured like this, beats Charlotte, that kind of looks bad for Charlotte. And if Charlotte beats Becky, that really complicates things as far as the story is concerned. But if Ronda comes out and hits Becky and beats Becky up, which she wants to do anyways, not only does she get Becky into WrestleMania, which she wants to do anyways, but that also does so without making anybody look weak. And that's exactly what they did. And I had a little celebratory dance in the house because I'm the wrestling psychic or something. I don't know. It was, I called it and then it just happened. So it was pretty cool. I was actually pretty pleased with myself. But yeah, that was a pretty cool spot. I really liked the way they handled it. I feel like that was exactly the way to do it. I mean, we all knew that Becky was going to win the match, which she did technically. But having her win it technically is really the best way to go. This retains Charlotte as a threat. This keeps her looking strong and doesn't make it look like this ought to just be a one-on-one match then between Ronda and Becky, because if Charlotte got beat by Becky with one leg, then and people already kind of say that because of Royal Rumble. So they needed to do something about that, and I feel like they did. The Shield match is full of all kinds of emotional moments. I mean, we all knew that this would kind of be the emotional height of the show, is the Shield reunion and Roman back in the ring in a proper match for the first time, and oozing with drama. There comes a point in time where an exhausted Roman Reigns is interrupted in the ring by a deep six, and it really looks like he's about to take the pin from Baron Corbin, but boys to the rescue. McIntyre and Lashley and Ambrose are fighting on the kickoff show set at one point in time, and Seth Rollins dives up from the elevated seating area near where they filmed the kickoff show, and it is an awesome aerial crowd spot that you just don't get to see those very often. This was a really good one. Corbin, though, during all of this, is in the ring and he's just beating the hell out of Roman. It's full of false finishes inside the ring and near falls. Corbin lands the end of days on Roman Reigns and appears ready to take the pin. And then the other Shield members, they show up. They interrupted it literally the last second. It was one of those things where I felt like the referee was going to have to, because of where they were in the ring. Where everything was going on, I didn't think that the match was going to end. So I kind of felt like, well, where they're at, where they're positioned, the referee's starting to count already for the pin. It's going to have to be like a 1, 2, 3. And it wasn't like that at all. It was 1, 2, interrupt. And it was, man, was it good. Anyway, the Boring Buddies, they prepare the Spanish announce table for Roman Reigns' demise. And then Ambrose and Rollins arrive triumphantly just in time in a spot full of the Shield washing each other's backs. It includes Superman punches and spears and Bobby Lashley getting stomped on and onto the stomp from Seth Rollins onto the Spanish announce table, but not through it. And it all culminates in the Cerberus triple power bomb, which is what I call it. Who calls it the Shield Bomb? I think it's Corey Graves calls it the Shield Bomb. And I think it was Ranella, the guy who's over on NXT now. I'm pretty sure he's the one that came up with the Cerberus. And that's just a great name. The crowd starts chanting one more time after Drew McIntyre is Cerberus through the Spanish announce table. And it seems like maybe they want to pick him up and put him through the English announce table as well. That doesn't happen. But back inside the ring, Corbin gets kind of picked apart systematically by very quick and deadly strikes by the Shield guys in the Shield. They look like a bunch of velociraptors, and he gets pinned. And that's the end. That's the end of the pay-per-view. That's the end of this 40-minute video. All in all, I mean, I give this show like a B, which is high. I mean, that's high for the way WWE pay-per-views have been lately. And not to say Royal Rumble and Elimination Chamber weren't good, but there's some stuff in between them that they're usually not bad. They're usually C+ shows, right? So this is probably like a B+ show, I guess. One whole grade above the average pay-per-view. And I gotta say, I'm pumped for WrestleMania. I mean, we're going to talk about that a bunch in the next 4 weeks. I don't need to talk about all the things I'm pumped about for WrestleMania. What are some things, though, coming out of this pay-per-view that maybe you think are different about the WWE, like the state of it currently, like kayfabe and everything within that, or even more so, like what you think the state of the company is with changes they might be making in the way that they deliver stories to us. I mean, these are the things that I like to talk about, and things that I, quite frankly, I want to know from people. Anyway, yeah. Thanks for watching, and let's hope the next 4 weeks of Raw and SmackDown are just awesome, because I don't see any reason why they can't be just one step short of this Fastlane pay-per-view. All right, see you.